Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope you're well. Welcome to Wholeversations, Conversations on Wholeness by Hadassah. And I just want to start off by apologizing to my 5 genuine followers, to all of you who follow me. I'm sorry that I've just been super inconsistent and I don't have an explanation why. And I feel bad that I have starved you, my 2 genuine followers. One happens to be my ex. I know you follow me. Anyway, I'm just here to say sorry that I've not been consistent in bringing in content, and I hope that will change in the coming days. However, lately I've just been obsessed with content and information to do with trauma and childhood trauma, and I think the whole topic of trauma is just so close to my heart because one, I have been impacted by it and I know how draining it can be and how difficult it can be to disengage or to live out of the unhealthy coping mechanisms that maybe we adopted as a result of trauma. However, I don't want to talk extensively about trauma, but I want to share briefly about a quote that is commonly said, and that is, hurt people hurt people. I believe that quote is correct. It's not incorrect, but I believe that it is not complete. There's an element to it that is untrue. But let's first dissect the fact that it is true, that hurt people hurt people. However, I think, in my opinion, I think that quote should read that hurt people who do not heal their heart end up hurting people. And I'll speak maybe from personal experience and what I've heard other people saying, especially people who've been adversely traumatized in whatever form. And even before we get there, can we have a working definition of trauma? If you Google, if you listen to different people will have different definitions of what trauma is. However, for our discussion and our conversation right now, I'll give 2 definitions of what I believe trauma is and what I resonate with. 1, trauma, I believe, is anything that changes our view of ourselves, the world, and God, and most times to the negative, to the worse. And another definition that I feel I resonate with so much is by a doctor called Dr. Gabor Mate. You can look him up, and he's a psychologist, a doctor, and a medical doctor, and a lot of other stuff. And he says that trauma is the wound that we sustain as a result of bad things that happened to us. And it's important to know that trauma is not always the negative things that happened to us. It's not just the sexual abuse, it's not just the neglect, it's not just the emotional, the physical, and the psychological abuse that we experienced, but trauma is also as a result of good things that never happened to us. It is the affirmation that we never got. It is the acceptance that we never got. It is the support, the encouragement that we were never given. It's an example of if I'm thirsty or I'm hungry and you refuse to give me the water that I need, that could also impact on me negatively. And if you hit me and you torture me, that could also impact me and affect me negatively. So Gabor Mate argues that trauma is the wound that we sustain as a result of what happened to us. And I like his definition of trauma because it empowers us who have been traumatized to be able to take the power back to us, in this sense that if we look at trauma as the bad things that happen to us, it can rob us the power to heal and to fix it, because we feel like this happened to me, I don't have control over it. Let's say somebody was sexually assaulted, or somebody was maybe it was a case of violence, that you did not have control over that. And if we base our argument on trauma as what happened to us, then we don't have the power to fix it because it was beyond our control. But when we look at it as the wound that we sustain, then we get the power back and we say that whatever happened to me was not my fault, but I have the responsibility and the power to heal the wound that was as a result of what happened to me. And so I feel I resonate with those two definitions, that one, trauma is anything that affects how we see ourselves, how we see the world, and how we see God, and most times the negative, and also the wound that we sustain as a result of the bad things that happen to us and the good things that were also not given to us. Now back to the quote. Any person who has gone through trauma, and especially childhood trauma, personally I talk about childhood trauma because that is what I have experienced. Any person who has gone through trauma, we tend to adapt some coping mechanisms or trauma response that help us to survive the environment that we are in. And to most times, because trauma in and of itself will communicate to you that maybe you're not good enough, or you are not worthy, or you are not lovable, or you do not belong here. When that message is registered to you, one of the coping mechanisms that people get is people pleasing. And we now try to become lovable by overgiving ourselves. So we are very sensitive and we are very empathetic, actually to a degree that we are always anticipating and thinking, what are the needs of this other person? You think about them in advance so that you meet them and you appease them, so that you are at peace with them. I understand that some of the trauma responses they're different for different people. There are other people who become apathetic. They become apprehensive. And so for them, it's like they freeze their emotions and they don't care. And they're the people who are extremely arrogant and they can just go off on people at any particular time. But a larger percentage of people who've gone through trauma, they have a unique empathy for people because they're able to identify with the pain and the hurt that other people are going through. You find that they're really sensitive to emotions. They can almost tell and predict when someone is not feeling so okay. And most times, hurt people become healers because they feel you. They are able to fit in the exact shoes and feel the emotions and absorb the exact emotions that you're feeling and help you walk through the journey if they have walked with you. So one, I disagree that hurt people. I believe that people who have healed their heart, they know how painful it is to have gone through trauma or to have gone through an emotionally draining situation. They become healers. They become people who are empathetic. They become people who can resonate. And most of the times they go out of their way to try and create a world that is comfortable for every person. One of my mentors, one of my career mentors, kept telling me that her personality is that of it's so compassionate that you don't want the antelope to get hungry, and also you don't want the lion to be killed. You're there, you want to create an ideal world so that no one is ever hurt. Actually for people with empaths or people who have actually been hurt greatly, there are people who want a world where we are not fixing anyone, but we want everyone to be whole in the first place. We don't want anyone broken or damaged in the first place. So ideally, I believe that quote could be true. If anyone has not healed from their heart, they could bleed on people who never hurt them. But to a greater degree, any person who has deeply been hurt, they tend to be empaths. They tend to want no one to ever have to go through such kind of pain. And personally for me, I believe that how I'm breaking that cycle is through my child. I do not want my baby to ever go through any single thing that I went through. And so I become so intentional of shielding him from any form of trauma from home. He better get trauma from anywhere else, but from home, I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that I don't hurt him. And also the people around me, I never want them to be hurt. So hurt people do not always hurt others if they have healed from their hurt. I hope this is helpful, and looking forward to create more content. Bye everyone.